We're Robin and Steve. In the last episode, we were hanging out, waiting for customs for 2 days at the beautiful Pangai Motu Island. Once we'd been cleared, we could explore the sights of Big Mama Bar, such as this old shipwreck, which kids were using as a playground. I'd never seen a pig on the beach before. Apparently this would soon be on the menu, but not for us. We went back to our boat and headed to the city. I didn't feel much of the city. Here's the coral right off the port of Nuku'alofa. And, spoiler alert, it's some of the best coral I saw in Tonga. So enjoy it while it lasts. We'd started the ball rolling to get our visas, so then we were off to see an outer island with our friends from Genki, Sarah and Campbell. This is what we came for, an uninhabited tropical island.
So rich.
I was told to drink coconut milk in moderation to avoid tummy upsets. Sensible advice that I ignored, and my tummy was just fine. Phew. This island had heaps of coconut palms, loaded with coconuts. So I feasted like I've never been on an uninhabited coconut-filled island before. And I hadn't. It's handy to have friends who are good with machetes. Yeah, then I can do the beautiful. Magical coconut moments were mixed with stuff like this.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna put it up on.
Be warned, you're going to see a lot of beach litter. Ripe pawpaws were being eaten by rats, so we felt okay about getting a few pawpaws, and they didn't go to waste, whether eaten ripe or as green pawpaw salad. Yum. Here Steve's just learning how to use a kite. I started collecting plastic from the beach and taking it above high water level. You'll see more of that too. We went in search of good snorkeling spots. I did warn you, most of the coral here is dead. We had to get back into town to complete our visas and collect our passport. Here are some cool sights of Nuku'alofa. Visas complete, we could slowly island hop our way north. This little island looked picture perfect until we started a pile, and it grew pretty big by the time we left. These bottles are from all over the world. We left before sunrise for the next spot. We were leaving Tongatapu and heading to the Hapai group. Island, our first stop in the Hapai group. Entering the anchorage was not super relaxing. Thank goodness these days we have good advice about how to enter safely. It's a stunning place. However, in the last 3 years, it has changed shape drastically. In January 2022, a submarine volcano erupted violently. Waves over 15 metres high have wiped a lot of the lowlands completely away. At the time, we could just imagine what this beautiful island would have looked like before. Bottom right is what it looked like before the tsunami. Again, most coral is dead, from what we saw anyway. And of course we're drawn to the living bits. Some islands have some trees, others have none left. Namuka Iki was incredibly badly hit. It looks as if a giant has wiped all the trees away. Pumice stones have rained over the whole island. It takes a massive wave to lodge a palm trunk in a huge tree like this. The lowland forests are simply gone, leaving a wasteland and lots of plastic. These fish aggregating devices were littered everywhere. Wherever we stopped, I made piles of plastic above the high water line. It's not going to magically fix the problem, but maybe it will harm less animals if it's condensed in a few spots. Let's hope so. We met our friends from Genki on the beach for a fire, and Sarah and Campbell have an extra crew member, Robbie. We spent a few days here while the weather was wild and walked all the way around the island, seeing the broken bits, finding plastic, including this, a stand-up paddleboard. The wasteland created by the tsunami was a pretty good place for Steve to test out his kite and for me to try handstands. May the thick lowland jungle grow back again. Next we were off to Ha'afeva, past more damaged islands. Steve caught a tuna, which turned into nice curry. At Ha'afeva, we were met by a man with a machete who led us into the jungle. This is Peter. This nut is used for soap and shampoo. Peter led us through his gardens to his house, where we met his family and were asked to come to lunch the next day. We figured this was a good home for the paddleboard we'd found in the rubble. We agreed to return with it the next day, but for now, let's try and find some living coral. It took a bit of hunting around, but we found some. The stand-up paddleboard we'd found in the rubble went from our boat to go overland to Peter's house. and his family are incredibly kind and generous.
Yay.
And insisted on feeding us meat in taro leaves and coconut and breadfruit. And then doing karaoke with a gold microphone. Peter's sister was really good. Singing ABBA here, that was unexpected. Peter was super keen to see our boat and to try out the ukulele. From Ha'awheva, we island hopped north. Resorts were closed for business, but getting ready for whale season. We found slightly more patches of living coral here, plus other colourful life forms. This is the beautiful but very destructive crown of thorn starfish. We saw little fish, no big fish. This is my first attempt at blowing bubble rings. Hopefully I'll get better. We found our friends from Amelie, Richard and Jude, and we all took a lovely walk and saw some bats, and some eels, and some animal tracks. Maybe this was a turtle. From the beach, we cut down the middle of the island through a cute village. Yards were strewn with what we think was paper mulberry that had been soaked in preparation to make Tongan handicrafts. Warning, this is kind of disturbing. It's a turtle on a string. We were told that this turtle's very important to this village. Being Tasmanian, we're not used to eggs going off this quickly. Tragedy. The next day, Steve and I walked all the way around the island, which actually was quite a long way, but very good for our walk-deprived legs. And then we found Rich and Jude. And then more friends. The Genki crew came too, and we all had curry on the beach. Next, it was off to Pangai to do the paperwork for the Hapai group entry and exit. I expected a busy town. This is Pangai. With the paperwork done, we just had to hope we could get through the night without a ferry running us over.
Cheeky buggers.
We weren't in the shipping lane. I think they just thought this was fun. It was forecast to be a bit windy, which is good news for our friends from Genki. That was Sarah and this is Campbell. Or is it? I can't be sure, to be honest. We heard you could walk across to the other island at low tide. But even at low tide, it was a bit deep. So we just hung out on a sandbar. The next day we tried again with our kayak. And we made it. The winds were the right direction now for us to start heading north. This skipjack helped pad out our low supplies. We had wanted to snorkel here at Offalanga Island. The weather wasn't so good, but we did kayak and walk. Clearly someone's been camping here and harvesting sea urchins. Good idea. Pangai markets only had bananas and cucumbers, so we added a couple of pawpaw to the pantry. During a bumpy downwind sail, something snapped in our whisker pole. Once dissected, the operating could begin.
This is why we can't stand up.
It had calmed down. We left the Hapai group behind and headed for Vava'u, about 65 nautical miles away. Sitting higher on igneous rock, these islands have quite a different feel from their southern cousins, and the winding pathways of the waterways mean that there are lots of options for shelter. We stopped here to recover. We love visiting the Tongatapu and Hapai groups. In the next episode, I cook with some new vegetables, meet an amazing cat, find some healthy coral, dive in caves, and see humpbacked whales who have swum all the way from Antarctica.